Hey traders, checking in on the cannabis and psychedelic space. I'm in travel mode in Florida, but got my laptop and we're going old school, bad mic, bad webcam to look at some strength we saw today in the cannabis sector. So overall, the broader stock market has a daily bounce underway right now. Nothing very notable, but after going sideways the last 2 days trying to find a short-term base of support, we certainly shifted momentum into the bounce today. And what we're going to be looking at from here is one of two things. We are either going to confirm a daily downtrend into further weekly consolidation, which obviously would put a damper on some of the strength we're seeing in these sectors. Granted, we're seeing the correlation break a good bit because the amount of dollar volume that's coming into the sector is offsetting that correlation a lot. But we're either going to confirm the daily downtrend or the bulls are going to keep control from here and make their way back up to that high, which would be a weekly bull flag. And if we back test and hold the weekly EMA's support into continuation, that's going to be a big vote of confidence for the bulls. And at that point, we will be talking about the potential that all-time highs are back in the picture. We'll still have percentage-wise a ways to go, but to bull flag after the size of the bounce that we've seen from that low, that would be very notable. One more thing that we got to be keeping an eye on is the dollar. The dollar right now has a very key double top at the highs and is trying to form a cup and handle. And if this were to bull flag and confirm to higher highs, that would add downward pressure on stocks, commodities, crypto. So this is worth watching into September because we are going to either see that cup and handle bull flag or a more convincing rejection into a double top and then weekly pullback. And if you are a bull in anything that I just mentioned, you want to see the dollar fail to break this resistance level and roll over and lose weekly EMA 12 for the first time pretty much this year. So keep an eye on the dollar and the broader market as it is related to sentiment and the markets as a whole. As far as these sectors specifically, so there's a little bit of hype out there. Why are we going up right now? So number one, the broader market has found a fear bottom, and we've been bouncing for a couple months. We know that much. We're looking towards the fall. We've got individual states voting on medical and recreational, and we have some psychedelic votes mixed in there as well. So been talking about that a lot over the last few months. And also there is now a rumor that SAFE is going to be back in the picture and a lot sooner than people anticipate. So that rumor has been circulating from some of the larger accounts with followings. They're definitely hyping things up a bit, but the volume is there. And so the price is responding to that volume. And CGC here set a daily higher low at 328. So that's now our new benchmark level. As long as 328 holds, the daily uptrend remains intact. And this is that daily uptrend. And we're heading back to test that resistance level of 430. The only way we can break 430 is if that volume continues to increase. And again, that volume's been a good sign for the bulls. Also, one thing to note is I used to put out these specific cannabis videos a lot, but more recently, with less time on my hands, I am just talking about it in my broader stock market video. So the video yesterday where I cover the whole market, I talked in depth about cannabis and psychedelic. So make sure and check in on all the videos and not just if it's a sector specific video, because I am talking about it often if there's any action going on. So 430. If we break 430, the next resistance level that CGC is looking at, there's a little level at 433, and then pretty much the high of every day here on the way back up, there's a little level. So we've got 433, 445, 466, just little, nothing very massive, nothing clearly standing out as a key resistance level to me, just little levels. And the hourly uptrend is our guide as well. We are now in an hourly and a daily uptrend. So yesterday we consolidated and found support at 382. The low of today held that level and saw continuation. The next time we pull back, anything above 385 keeps the hourly uptrend going. When we lose the hourly higher lows, we will zoom out and scout a daily higher low, anything above that 328 level. And again, CGC is easily the lead cannabis bull. Doesn't mean it's the strongest name every single day. I think TLRY was up maybe 1 to 2% more today. But in terms of where we stand coming off the low and where we stand relative to the recent highs, it's much stronger. And you look at ACB, big green day today, but we're not close to 194. We're still over 10% away from that level. And same thing, Cron's trying to catch up a bit, but still almost 10% under its recent high. VFF. So if we continue to see confidence gained in this sector, we will look for laggards. You see GTBIF and some of these other names running really hard, and then what money will do, traders and investors and whoever, they will look to, okay, well, Curaleaf hasn't been running nearly as much, so I'm going to put some money into Curaleaf and hope that Curaleaf follows along. So that's when you get a really bullish environment where you can see profits that are rotating around between individual names, and bulls move to the laggards, and we see the laggards play catch up when there's a lot of confidence and euphoria in the space. TLRY, so solid bull move up. I'm keeping this rising wedge that broke bear. I'm keeping it on the chart just to see if we were to fail a back test of this previous support, now resistance. Increase in the volume is a good sign. So again, playing some catch up today. And we could see early on that it was holding on much better than CGC. We had the high of the day, low of the day, and then we just traded sideways within that range, while CGC had a bigger spike first thing, but then gave it all back to fresh lows. It double bottomed as well, but just a little bit of a difference where on any given day, it shifts a bit. One more thing to note, the big days when we see significant follow through generally happen in the first hour of trading. And one thing you want to be keeping an eye out for is when you see a volume candle that is higher. Generally, you see the highest volume candles, I'm on the 5-minute time frame, in the morning, the first candle, and then the second candle is lower, and then the third candle is lower. That's the most common pattern. But when you see the highest volume candle on the 5-minute time frame in the morning, 15, 20 minutes into the morning, that's when you pay attention, because that shows us a lot of increased buying pressure after the initial rush of the first 10 minutes of the trading day. So that's just a little clue to be keeping an eye on when you're trying to gain some confidence that bulls can keep the morning move going. And again, just as a comparison, yesterday we saw that to a certain degree, and it wasn't the highest volume, but again, it was high volume 15, 20 minutes into the day. And you can see today was more the common pattern of the highest volume on the first candle, and then it just slowly drops off as the morning slows down a little bit. So hourly uptrend is our guide, daily uptrend is our guide. You need to determine which matters most to you. Are you a swing trader that is going to be confident and holding as long as the daily uptrend is intact? Are you going to be looking to lock in some profits when the hourly uptrend is lost and then look to reload a daily higher low? The hallmark of a strong trend is 5-minute oversold conditions will mark our hourly higher lows. Hourly oversold conditions will mark our daily higher lows. If that is happening, that shows us bulls are aggressively buying the dips. So that's another thing to be observing and keeping an eye out for. And don't believe we came close to 5-minute oversold today on CGC. Neither did TLRY, but MSOS did at the end of the day, which we'll look at here in just a second. So clear little triple top on TLRY. We'll see if this move continues. Really, all these names in Canada are watching CGC to see, can it break 430 or do we reject from that resistance? Because if it breaks 430, again, that's when we get continued confidence for the sector. As far as the USMJ names are concerned, MSOS, weekly uptrend. If you've been watching these videos over the last couple of months, you know I've been talking about the weekly trend for a long time. And here we are in the first weekly uptrend since all-time highs. That is very notable. The character of the chart is shifting a bit. And it's the low. The high of the bounce was 13, the higher low at 1096, and now the higher high. So just a classic trend change and trying to close over weekly EMA 12 for the first time this year. 9 months since that has happened. Granted, it happened once with zero follow through, but still it hasn't even come close to happening in the last 9 months. So this is notable as well. We have one more trading day, so it's going to be the highest volume week in the last 5 weeks, and it's going to be a bit over average. And the next levels that we're looking at from here, the high of today was 1347, and you can see all this price action is where we are re-entering right now. So the price is now back in the middle of this, and this is a more significant range of price action for me. I just look back at CGC, and we don't have that with where we stand right now. After 4:30, it's just a strong drop without that sideways range. So it's different for me. If there's a sideways range, there's a lot of price action, and that is a stronger resistance zone because there are essentially more bag holders from that level, if you want to break it down simply. But that range is from where we stand right now, 1331, up to 1473. So I'm watching 14 psychological, as 13 psychological certainly came into play. But same deal, we got the hourly uptrend. It's attempting an hourly bull flag, and look at 5-minute oversold conditions into the end of the day. So 5-minute oversold, bulls bought it for a 2% bounce, solid volume into the close, and bulls would love to see an hourly bull flag confirmed tomorrow morning with a break of 1347 to keep this move going. Our short-term support is now 1306. If we open tomorrow, fail 1347, and break 1306 support, bulls are going to be losing some short-term momentum. It's not game over, but it just shows us that this hype 2-day high volume move is slowing a bit. So those two levels are the levels that I'm watching first thing when the bell rings tomorrow. So MSOS, nice turnaround and shift. Hourly and daily uptrend, we're going to be looking for a daily higher low to form next time we consolidate. GTBIF, as we've been saying now for this whole week, is clearly the lead bull. If MSOS was as strong as GTBIF, we can look back here and say we broke this range here and we are testing levels that we have not seen since the start of May. So if MSOS were that strong, we would be up in the 15s right now. So it's clearly the lead bull. Big breakout, big volume at this point. We're pushing 70, 80, 90% off the lows. We've got a lot of space for a daily higher low, a lot of space for an hourly higher low. Same thing, we saw that pull back into the end of the day. There was a good amount of profit taking into the close, but I would call anything above the low of today an hourly higher low next consolidation. If you're feeling FOMO right now, just look at monthly charts. Monthly charts are your anti-FOMO. Look at CGC. Are you missing anything? Sure, you're missing some short-term gains, and it's nice to see some bull momentum back in action here, but big picture, this bounce is meaningless, big picture. We're going to have to see multiple months of bounce follow-through with daily uptrends and then weekly uptrends if we're going to see, pretty much this bull move needs to continue into the voting season of November if this is going to be a notable bounce on the monthly time frame. So same thing with MSOS. Go to the monthly, look at where we came from, look at what we just went through, and look at where we stand. Oh, I missed it. Well, there's going to be plenty of daily higher lows and weekly higher lows if this move is for real. And so ideally, the best risk and reward is buying on consolidation, and I personally use those short-term oversold conditions to try and time my entries. Again, 5-minute oversold if I'm looking for an hourly higher low, hourly oversold if I'm looking for a daily higher low. So that's your anti-FOMO. Should you be taking some profit? It's never a bad idea to take some profit when you see a significant move up. It all depends on your game plan. Are you just buying and holding and closing your eyes for the next 3 months or longer, 2 years, whatever? Or are you trying to salvage some capital from a lot of pain previously and want to deploy it elsewhere? Is there opportunity costs that you want to be doing something else with that cash? Or maybe you want to take some off and then reload it when the pullback begins. Again, that's up to you. But if there's anything that I can instill in your brain, and it's something that surprisingly is very uncommon when I talk to friends and whoever that are newer traders or investors, partial positions. You can stay in a positive mindset if you sell a 30-year position at 1331 on MSOS and we run up to 14, you could say, great, I still got 2/3 of my position. I'm making money still. I'm still got a higher net worth than yesterday. If we pull back, you can say, great, I've got cash to buy this dip and look for a daily higher low and drop my cost basis of my core position. Partial positions is the key. My trading as a day trader leveled up big time when I started doing partial positions because nailing tops and bottoms is not easy. And even as a professional trader, I know that I'm not going to be nailing tops and bottoms. So scaling in and out is the ideal way to go. I personally only have about half the position that I'd like to have in MSOS right now. So I'll be watching for a daily high or low. I'll be watching what the dollar and the broader market are doing at that point. But I will be looking to buy on some consolidation. I think a lot of people will as well. Now that we've got, the last 2 days, but specifically today, a big confidence boost. Okay, we can breathe a sigh of relief. This bounce was much weaker than the broader market over the last 2 months. Now we're playing some catch up. There's some volume behind it, sentiment shifting a bit, some social media attention, some articles coming out, and hopefully that coasts. Again, we got months to go, but hopefully that coasts into the media attention that's going to be coming from these individual states that are going to be voting in terms of trying to pass some laws. So GTBIF, hourly uptrend guide as well, and plenty of space for the daily high or low next consolidation. And again, you could be keeping an eye out for the laggards as well. VRNOF has bounced significantly off of its low, but we're still under the high of July 25th. And if you look at every other individual name, they're all breaking that level. Not by a lot just yet. And actually, Curaleaf has not yet. Curaleaf's got to get over 646 here to join the party. That's a triple top, and now it's a quadruple top, and that level is in play tomorrow. So Curaleaf has been lagging behind. That's got to change. CRLBF break into the higher high on this bounce. So it's looking like VRNOF and Curaleaf right now are the weaker names that still have resistances to clear from the last 2 months of trading. And again, GTBIF. If GTBIF was as weak as Curaleaf right now, we'd be trading at 1071. We'd be testing this resistance right now. So again, just notable differences between these individual names. PSIL, psychedelic space now. So PSIL is seeing its highest volume ever. Not the highest dollar volume ever, but the highest amount of shares ever today. And again, we're paying attention. Look at this average volume line. This orange line is the 20-day average volume. And as I've been saying, this ETF doesn't have anywhere near enough dollar volume for me to be interested, but that's changing. We're closing in on $800,000 traded today. So I want to see millions of dollars traded a day, but again, that volume is ramping up. And if this becomes a more liquid vehicle, and if people start to buy this, we can watch for it to potentially have the same impact that MSOS had on the U.S. cannabis sector once it started trading. Again, just go back and look at MSOS in its first 2 months of trading. Look at the volume. Look at the 20-day average volume line at what it did. And then, of course, that perpetual buying of the ETF, and then they buy the individual names, and then just everything feeding off itself in that big bull move. So anybody in the psychedelic space wants to see the ETF dollar volume consistently grow for the rest of the year. And it too is up at its recent highs, and at this point we've bounced a solid 60% or so, and we got a daily uptrend with lots of space for a daily higher low to form. It's still not enough for me to trade this ETF, but it's something to keep an eye on as far as the sector as a whole. CMPS, back test and hold of EMA support into a weekly bull flag attempt. We do have to confirm the daily trend change back to the bulls. So this is the kind of setup where if we top out anything under 2150, and then we look for a pullback and a higher low, a bull will maybe make an entry or two, put their stop under 1508, because if that level breaks, it's a red flag in terms of bulls losing some more significant momentum, and the probability of a bull flag will be much lower if that breaks. But then we have to change the daily trend and head back to test the recent high. So bulls are keeping an eye out for first hourly oversold conditions, which are not close to happening. But if daily consolidation starts taking place and we start heading back towards the 15s, keep an eye on that hourly RSI, and let's see if we can hold 15 and confirm a daily trend change back to the bulls with the higher low and higher high. CMPS is still clearly the sector leader with a way bigger move off its lows than everybody else. And again, look at the bull cross here of these EMAs trying to cross bull for the first time in this year. Curious about Numi. Not enough volume for me to be interested overall, but still grinding up. So I care about the higher listed name, CMPS, ATAI, also trying for a quick weekly higher low. So anything above 351 is a higher low, and the bulls are trying to form it here. Looking back up at the recent high of 496, that's back in play, and a very significant bounce. Again, these names are extremely volatile, so they are not for the faint of heart, where you've got a 4-day pullback of 15% into a 3-day bounce of 16%. So you got to be, if you're swing trading and holding on to these names longer term, you got to be getting used to 20% moves back and forth. But ATAI, if we do fail 496, we'll look for a daily higher low. But we can see that, it's not a coincidence that ATAI is testing its recent top here, and CGC is testing its 430 recent top. So the sectors are moving together. They're certainly related to each other. And if I'm a cannabis bull, I want to see psychedelics doing well and vice versa. It's a team game. MNMD. So we had a little pump after hours, an upgrade, and I'm very surprised at the amount of follow through the bulls were able to put together there. Quick 10% spike. But again, these quick spikes of 10%, just like yesterday, they are short-lived. So taking some profit is a good idea. I exited the majority of my position yesterday in the 91 to 93s on that spike, and I will potentially add it back. We got an inside bar right now. Bulls need to break 91 and 95 for continuation on this move. But volume needs to stay high here. And this volume dropped off significantly. We had the spike yesterday. And still seeing $10 million, so it's nothing too shabby. But I'm watching this tightening range. Pretty much the high of yesterday, low, lower high, higher low, tightening range here. And clearly the bears are defending the 92 to 95 range that we just pulled back from in after hours. We just spiked up to 92 and then dropped a quick 5%. So keeping an eye on it and watching to see if it's going to, if ATAI breaks that resistance tomorrow and we see continued strength in cannabis, we'll be watching for this to potentially try and play some catch up. But clearly it is a lot weaker in the last few days just because of the pump and dump nature of the move that it did see on that gap up open. And in general, gap ups are for selling. That's something else to be keeping an eye on. A lot of little tips on what to be keeping an eye on for technicals here in this video. What have we not been seeing? We have not been seeing gap ups. That is key. If I see a gap up, I am much more likely to take some profit and look to buy in on a pullback and on a dip. But if I'm a bull that wants a sustained move, I want to see an open just under the high of yesterday and then break it first thing in the morning. And that's what we're seeing here. Notice the absence of gaps on this move. The one gap that we did see was a gap down for buying on the way up. That was the earnings reaction. No, it wasn't. Wasn't earnings back here? No, that was dilution. Anyways, keep an eye out for gaps as well, but there has been a lack of gaps. Did we do everybody? MSOS had a gap today, and it dropped. So we gapped up, quick little pullback, fill the gap, and then see continuation. So if you are going to gap up, that's how you want to do it. But again, I prefer, if I am a swing trade position, I prefer a lack of gaps. Just open right near the high and break it first thing. All right, feel free to ask any questions. Again, establish those game plans. You don't want to be making decisions in the heat of the moment when price action is dictating your emotional decisions. So you can have levels. If it gets to here, I'm going to exit 10% of my position, 20% of my position. If you're not confident with your trading and you just want to be holding, that's fine as well. Everybody is different. So determine what is best for you. And again, we're looking towards November and the votes. Safe before that would be a bonus. We're looking for uplisting on these U.S. cannabis names for volume and market makers to need to establish significant position sizes to be able to add liquidity to the bid and the ask, just like we saw in Canada. And the best case scenario is for the broader market to continue to alleviate fear by slow grinding back up towards that all-time high. Certainly, fear is done for now. If the dollar breaks the cup and handle bullish and the broader market confirms a daily downtrend, we have to be more cautious being bullish in these high-risk, high-reward sectors. So it's best case if that does not happen. We'll continue to check in, and again, if I don't have a specific video on these sectors, if there's action that day, I'm talking about it in the end of the day video. So make sure and check in there if you're interested. Have a good day and do good things.